Hi guys, welcome to Sofrita. I'm your host Rico, and today we're going to be talking about what it takes to create a complete Sofrita episode. What equipment we use, what software we use, where we shoot, indoor and outdoor, what we've been up to, and basically where we're going from here. Let's jump right in. I typically use just my phone and a GoPro, especially when I'm shooting outdoors. Those are my go-to devices. Everybody has a phone. Most people that are going into YouTube have some type of outdoor camera, whether it's a GoPro, whether it's a Sony, whatever it might be. Typically 2 cameras are the bare minimum that you're going to need to really produce a high quality show. You don't have to have it, but it's a great starting point. For me, I have over 20 years worth of video equipment that I've been collecting over the course of my marriage to Myra. And it wasn't just because, she enjoys photography. We both do. We've been shooting our kids growing up for the past 25 years. We have plenty of stuff to work with, and now we're actually devoted to creating this YouTube channel. So one of the main things I use besides my GoPro and my iPhone is this Sony SLR. This is an A65. I believe it came out in 2011, which is like the first or second year that Sony started producing SLRs after they bought Minolta. It's a great camera, very functional, great saturation. Problem is, it only records for 30 minutes at a time, which means you have to be stopwatching the whole thing to make sure you've got continuity. It's very easy to continuously talk for an hour, lose half your show, and be like, what happened? So I do love my Sony, but there's a new one out that I've really got my eye on. It's the ZV-1. Can't wait to get my hands on that. That actually may replace both my iPhone and my GoPro as my go-to camera. Can't wait. Sony, if you're listening, you've got a fan. So, in addition to my iPhone and GoPro, which is a GoPro 8 that I use for my own personal shows, it's got the Media Mod attachment, and I've got a shotgun microphone by Rode that is amazing. There is a couple of problems with it. It's not 100% perfect. You really have to bundle it up so that it doesn't collect wind noise. The dead cat that comes with it is pretty good, but when the wind is blowing from the back of the microphone, it tends to pop and click. So you have to be in a very quiet place already for you to get the best results from your Rode microphone. I hope they come up with a better sound dampening system, but I've made a workaround that works just fine. I can show that to you later if you're curious, if you have the same microphone as I have, which I will show you behind me or next to me or something like that. I'll show it to you, and if it works out for you, great. I also have this GoPro 7, which I got as a Christmas present from my son, Fred, and I love it. This is my underwater camera that I typically use. I don't take my 8 into the water because I always have the Media Mod on it, and it is not waterproof. It will flood your camera like that, and then you'll just be out $500 or whatever you paid for it. I don't want that, but the 7 is a perfect stand-in. It shoots 4K. It does exactly what I need it to do. Is it top of the line? No, they just came out with the 9. But it definitely serves its purpose in terms of going outside, getting wet, doing some wild stuff. Very reliable camera. Love it. Then, if I want to take things to the air, I've got my DJI Mavic Pro Platinum, which I got for Father's Day from my wife a few years ago. It also comes with a head display, which is great if you want to feel like the pilot and you're flying POV or HUD or whatever you want to call it. Great little system here. I've crashed it a couple of times. It's very resilient. And even though I live fairly close to an airport, I'm still somehow able to fly without getting the FAA over here, which, hand to God, thank you for that. If you ever buy a drone, one of the more important things I would recommend that you get is a spare battery. You can only fly for typically about 30 minutes with your drone, and most day shoots require more than just a 30-minute shot. So spare batteries, crucial. If you're outdoors and you're running around, having a gimbal is very important if you want a very clean shot. This is a DJI Osmo 2. There's 2 new versions ahead of this that I don't have because I don't need it. This is serving my purposes very well. I even got this adapter for my GoPro 7 to add the GoPro here, lock it into the gimbal, and the software stabilization that the GoPro has is accentuated and improved by having an actual physical gimbal. Very cool. Kind of noisy, but great. Unfortunately, you can't control your GoPro shot with the gimbal, which would be great, but unfortunately GoPro no longer makes a gimbal because their software stabilization has come to a point where they're like, we don't need that anymore. And it's kind of true. Their GoPro 9 is sick, especially now with the front-facing LCD camera, LED screen. Very nice. Tripods, extremely important. This is a Joby 1 kilogram tripod that is articulating. Great product, I love it. It actually came with my iPhone stand that my iPhone is currently holding. Well, it's currently holding my iPhone right now that you're seeing. The last thing is a battery pack. This is just a cheap one. I've got another one by Mophie that's 20,000 milliamps. This one, I don't even know who makes this one, quite honestly. This is 8,000 milliamps, and I use it basically for my ring lights when I am not near a power plug. It's great for charging your phone, your iPad, your GoPro, whatever you need. Just have a couple of those handy because they can actually support you when dusk falls and you actually need light. Okay, so that's pretty much the breadth and width of my actual day-to-day hardware. Lighting is super important if you're shooting indoors. I've got 2 ring lights. I've got a garage light up here that's 5,500 lumens LED. I've got a couple of torchère lamps on each side of me, and I've got this green screen. The green screen is hugely important if you are, like, I don't know, producing in your basement or you want to give your viewers something fun to look at. Right now, I'm starting off with my green screen, but on a snap, I can turn it into whatever I want. I don't know what I'm gonna put on there yet, so I just snapped my fingers. You're just as surprised as I am. So the equipment is super important, but it's not the most important thing that you can use. That's when you're producing your show. Let's put it that way. Content. If this show is of interest to you, then I'm doing my job. I want you, as my audience, to be captivated, to be interested, to be enraptured. I want you to hold on to my every word. Okay, granted, it's just me talking about cameras and microphones and stuff. You're probably not going to be that enraptured. No big deal. But for future shows, I want you to feel like, man, I can't wait to see what they're up to next week. And that is your job as a creator, to make compelling content consistently so that your viewers can say, what a crazy day of mask wearing, cooped up in this house, kids screaming over there. I'm just going to throw on some headphones and watch Solfrita and see what they're up to this week. That's our dream right there. We love our show. We love our channel. We love the topics we're coming up with, even though they're kind of all over the map. But we're consolidating. We're focusing. We're bringing things from the cloud into sharp focus. And really, that's lessons learned from watching a bunch of YouTube tutorials. The wise ones that have like over 1 million followers are actually experts, and there's no two ways about that. They're rich, they've got millions of followers, they know what they're talking about, and they make great shows. That's pretty much the breadth and width of it. They've got it all on lock, which is our goal, and it should be your goal as a creator. Consistency. Come out with a show that resonates with people, whether it's beauty, fashion, exercise, whatever it is. I mean, there's a million and one subjects out there, and all you gotta do is just pick one and be different. Just be different. You don't have to be the best at it. Just be different and compelling and consistent. Every time you come out with a show, if you're piggybacking off somebody else's idea, that's fine. I mean, there's more than one camera, there's more than one brand of a lot of stuff. You're just another variation of another person. Your ideas, your delivery, your content might be just a little bit better than whoever it was your audience was following last. There's no harm in that. It's a free-for-all. It's a competition, but we're not really competing with each other per se. We're competing for your attention. And that's really what we want. And once you start producing shows, you're going to kind of get into the groove of it. You're going to feel more comfortable in front of the camera if you're not already. This is actually like my fourth try at this particular episode because I require a lot of prep. Myra, she can just freeform, go right into it, all hunky-dory. Mina's kind of in the middle where she's like, she'll take some notes and she'll really try to inform you of what she's doing so that you're following along in her creative process. For me, I'm like all over the map. I have to really write things down so that I'm consistent and concise. Concise is a problem for me. I can just go on, and I'm sorry. I will edit the crap out of this video. You'll see. As far as what we're planning, right now we just got signed up with Amazon affiliates. So all of the stuff that is not ancient that you've seen here today, I'm going to put a link for it to its Amazon counterpart. Obviously, not everything is going to be there, like ring lights for sure, green screen for sure, probably the battery, maybe the GoPro 7. The point is, you want to diversify your income stream. YouTube requires that you have at least 1,000 subscribers before you can become monetized. I've got 19. So, I'm doing this for the love of the game, clearly. I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to make it so that whenever you see this show, you're like, you know what? I see what they were trying to do here. I'm happy with the time that I've spent with you guys. And that's what I hope you feel for us. So, as far as where we shoot, let's talk about that. Location, location, location. It's not the most important thing. It's not like real estate. Location is important, but not the only thing. For me, the hardest part for me is shooting indoors, but I'm going to talk about shooting outdoors first, just because it's a little bit easier, and for people that are just starting out, that don't have a bunch of lighting equipment or a green screen or anything, going outside is probably your best bet, because the light is what's going to help people see you, to see your facial expressions, to hear your emotion, and just really engage with you. I love shooting outside. The problem is, where I live, it's very windy. And so that's a trick, because I have to pay attention to sound quality. So I usually use a wired mic, a couple of lavaliers, depending on if it's me or Myra or both of us talking. If it's super still, or we're up in the mountains where there's no wind, I'll use my shotgun mic from Rode. And the first episode, we used the shotgun mic, and it was beautiful. Check that out. That was our first ever attempt at filming a show. It was kind of all over the map as well. This one's a lot more focused. Hopefully it's still focused. Outdoor shooting, very nice. You can go wherever you want. If you've got a couple of tripods, a couple of cameras for a couple of different angles, you're good as gold. You really don't need much more than that. If you want to use a gimbal because you're going out and running, perfect. Get yourself a cheap gimbal. There's actually a brand new gimbal that's about to come out on the market. I cannot remember the name of it. I will post a link. It's still crowdfunding. Yes, it's a crowdfunding. It's a pneumatic gimbal. So basically, whenever you have like a drawer that closes very slowly, that is what this gimbal principle is built on. So There's no batteries required. It holds your camera steady. You can run and play with it, and it keeps it just as level as a powered gimbal, which is fantastic because you can actually take it into the water. It's not waterproof. Well, it's waterproof, but it doesn't work underwater. Let's put it that way. I can't wait to get one. It's only like $35. It'll save you a heap of time and a lot of headache and post-processing because shaky cams went out with Blair Witch Project. Okay, so indoor, outdoor. Outdoor is probably the best for brand new starting out creators. I love shooting outdoors. Obviously, there's a couple of hurdles with wind and weather conditions that you have to contend with. Road noise is a big deal here because we live right off of an intersection and it's constantly got cars going back and forth. Pain in the neck. Indoor shooting is a level of magnitude more complex because you've got lights to consider. You've got your setting. You want to make sure that it's clean. You want to make sure that it's bright. You want to make sure there's no noise. Right now, the house is completely quiet. Myra and Eros are in the back room. Frederick and Mina are at work. Now is the perfect time. I can whisper, and you can still hear me. That's not the goal, but you do want a quiet environment for you to do your show. And fortunately, right now, I'm in the sweet spot, quiet, bright, good. So for what I use indoors, I typically only use my iPhone because I don't usually need a wide shot that the GoPro provides. I'm using it right now because I want you to be able to see the different variations of views. Like let's say you're shooting outside. You want your option to have a wide shot because especially if you've got a sweet background, you want to be able to have a wide shot so people can see not just you, but where you're at. It actually adds to the story. But when you're inside, having a green screen, great lighting, great sound, you kind of have to up your whole game when you're shooting inside because there's more on the line as far as imperfections. Like I said, I use my iPhone, which is an iPhone 8 Plus, super old. I'll be getting into a new one whenever the 12 comes out. Ring lights, LEDs above, and pretty much that's it. I mean, the whole process of production is not that complicated. If you just prep yourself, get a couple of tripods, get some good lighting, get some good microphones. Realistically, I would say for myself, if I was just using the bare bones equipment that I'm using right now, I would say I'm in for about somewhere between $700 and $800. No, $700 to $1,000. And that covers all of my equipment, my software. Oh, parlaying into software. We used to be an Adobe family. We used to use Premiere, we used to use After Effects, but I realized that the kids were having a really hard time absorbing the complexity of Premiere and After Effects. It is like jumping into the cockpit of a 747. There's so many options. You just can't jump into it and learn it and start editing right away. No, no, no. Don't even think about it. Because they had been using Apple products forever, GarageBand, then they upgraded to Logic, and now that they're starting to do recordings, they're using Final Cut Pro. They actually went to iMovie for a hot second. It's really, once you have used After Effects or Premiere, going to iMovie is like, this is horrible. I can't do anything here. So they quickly moved into Final Cut Pro and Motion, and that has just been a winning combination for us. We have 3 computers here as far as computer hardware. We have a MacBook Air that we only use for podcasts. It's old, super old, like 2011 old, which in computer terms is like, it's basically a doorstop. I have a 13-inch MacBook Pro that is not the greatest, but at the time it was what I could afford, and we use that for photo retouching, Illustrator, Photoshop, things of that sort. Prepping the show for promotional stuff like Instagram, Facebook, whatever we need as far as advertising. The workhorse and the best machine in the house is our MacBook Pro 15-inch, which has the i9 processor. I use that all the time. It's my go-to computer. I use it for not just video editing, but my actual other job, which I'll get into later. The problem with using Final Cut Pro is that it is a hard drive hog. If you don't tell it to turn off the auto render, your file sizes can swiftly run up into the terabyte zone. And it slows down everything when you have to wait for a render, or if you're trying to just, produce something on the fly. So I turned off my auto render, saved myself a bunch of hard drive space. I'm using an 8 terabyte external drive for all of my post-production shows. Like once I'm done creating it, but I still have the assets that I want to keep, I'll just drop all of that stuff into the 8 terabyte drive and keep the 1 terabyte SSD drive that I have attached to my computer for actual editing like that day. I'll use 1 terabyte for my cache or any type of special effects that I have to add in. Saves a heap of time. I don't have enough space on my actual computer, so I had to do an external drive, which you will probably encounter too unless you turn off your cache, your rendering cache. So we use 3 computers, but it's not required that you do that. I purposely got Macs because I can dual boot them so that I can run both PC and Mac, which I do. I'm a presentation specialist by day, a YouTube creator by night. During the day I use PowerPoint, so it's better to use PowerPoint on a PC. That's just the plain and simple of it. And then right after I'm done with actual work, then I come over and do my shows in Final Cut, and we're all good. So let's do a quick recap. It doesn't matter what type of equipment you have if you're just starting out. What really counts is your content, your energy, how you engage with your audience, and being consistent. If you're able to do those few things, you're gonna get subscribers, you're going to get likes, you're going to get fans, you're gonna get comments, especially if you're really compelling and engaging and asking your audience questions. Like, what did you think of this episode? Do you have any comments? Is there anything that you could suggest that I buy or try or learn or anything to make this show better for you? If you learn how to do that, you're way ahead of the game, because you want to take people out of their room and into your room where you're like, hey, Tom, Carol, how you like the show? Let's just talk. And you want Tom and Carol, whoever they might be, to look at you and say, you know what? I'm going to do my hair that way. I'm going to buy that car. I'm going to, I don't know, do that exercise. Whatever the topic might be that resonates with you, do it and be consistent with it. It should be fun for you. As far as I'm concerned, I'm only a newbie for a short period of time. I am not trying to stay in this weird limbo where I don't have any type of income from this. I don't have, sponsorship. I enjoy what I do, but I'm not doing it for nothing. I mean, time for me is valuable, and I'm assuming it's valuable for you. That's why we both got into this. So once I hit my 1,000 subscriber mark and my monetization engine kicks in, I'm going to be super happy. The whole show is going to really take off from there, because production value is going to go up. The whole thing is just going to get much better. For me, I'm an Amazon affiliate, so I can recommend products, I can supply links, and if you buy a product via that link, I'll get a small fraction of that transaction. And if you get 10,000 views and people really like what you're doing, it'll add up. You don't have to necessarily wait for YouTube to monetize you. You can go out and search for other avenues of monetization that will, up your game. Because the more money you have, the more equipment you can buy, the more locations you can go, the better your show will inherently be, so long as you have the presence, the enthusiasm, the energy, and really engage with your audience. That's what it comes down to. For me, I just want you guys to know that I am not naturally a creator. I don't enjoy necessarily being in front of the camera. I am a very communicative person. gregarious. I love talking to people, but being in front of the camera and doing things over and over again is not my way of communicating. I do it because I love the content. I mean, I love my show. I love the equipment that I use, and I love sharing different concepts with you guys. So if this motivates you in any way, my job is done. I feel very good about it. I hope that you'll subscribe and you'll like and you'll click a notification for when the next show comes out. That'd be great. I'm not going to press you for it, but I wouldn't say no to it. And if you leave a comment and let me know who you are and show me your site, there's a good chance I will subscribe to yours just out of, common courtesy. So that's the recap. All I can say is thank you for your time. Please join me again. And this has been Solfrita. I'm your host again, Rico. Come back again and visit us. But before I go, I will tell you what I'm planning for next time. You might see Myra or Mina or Fred in front of you on, the episode list. But the next time you actually see me, I'm going to be discussing presentation design. Like I said, I am a professional presentation specialist. I've been doing it for over 20 years. I've worked with Fortune 100 companies, multiple ad agencies. I've been doing this freelance full-time for the past 6 years or so. And to be quite honest, I love what I do. I get paid very well for it. It afforded me the ability to move my entire family from Michigan to Maui, Hawaii. Not immediately. It took a while, but I was able to move my family from Michigan to Maui on PowerPoint. PowerPoint comes with every new computer purchase. Imagine that. Something so ubiquitous allowed a family of 5, one guy, to move his family across country and move to paradise. So, that being said, I'm going to share the techniques and the tricks that I use in my presentation career to help you. You might want to go into presentation design. It's actually fairly lucrative. You're not going to become a millionaire doing presentation design. You're just not. It's not a very glamorous job. You're a very much an unsung hero in the background to the person that is actually presenting the content. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'd make a tidy living doing just that. The thing is, most people who go to school for graphic design, they don't want to do it. They don't want to do PowerPoint. That's way below what they paid tens of thousands of dollars for in college. I lucked out. I went into automotive design. I got lucky and got a project to do in PowerPoint. And the next thing you know, the rest is history. I took that as my career and turned it into me living here. And now I want to share it with you guys. Whether you want to make it a career or whether you just want to impress your boss, I'm going to be providing you guys with some really valuable tools, a lot of techniques, some examples of some of the work I've done so that maybe you can use that in your design aspirations. PowerPoint is it's an unsung hero. We use it all the time. We don't necessarily like it. They said death by PowerPoint as a real thing because people just have clicking through hundreds of slides. So it shouldn't feel that way. It should feel like an infomercial, a commercial that makes you go, wow, that was PowerPoint? Holy crap, I'm impressed. Who did this? If you can achieve who did this, you've done a good job in PowerPoint. And that's what I want to teach you in my next series. So until then, stay safe, be nice to each other, keep your masks on and then I'll see you next time. Thanks again. Take it easy.
Shake it, don't break it, don't